Hello, I'm Nima Rajan. A gunman disguised as a police officer went on a 12-hour rampage in Nova Scotia, shooting people in their homes, setting fires, and killing at least 16 people in the deadliest such attack in Canadian history. One of the victims was RCMP Constable Heidi Stevenson. Officials identified the suspected shooter as 51-year-old Gabriel Wertman, who apparently worked as a denture maker. Royal Canadian Mounted Police spokesman Daniel Bryan confirmed Sunday that at least 18 people had been killed in addition to the shooter. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says it is heartbreak on top of heartbreak when families whose loved ones were killed in Nova Scotia on Sunday cannot gather to mourn because of the COVID-19 physical distancing rules. The PM says it is the same heartbreak felt by thousands of other Canadians who have lost loved ones to the virus or to cancer or other illnesses. He said there will be a virtual vigil on Friday night for all of Canada to support the community. A small group of MPs have taken their seats in the House of Commons today after the four main parties failed to reach consensus over how Parliament can and should function during the COVID-19 pandemic. Parliament has met twice since the adjournment in March to pass emergency aid legislation. The Liberals, NDP, and Bloc say the only reason MPs need to be physically present in the Commons now is to vote on any subsequent legislation. They agreed that the House of Commons could convene for a weekly in-person sitting, but Conservative leader Andrew Scheer has said that that's not enough, and that the debate and discussion in the House of Commons are of urgent importance. Well, as of this morning, there were 35,056 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Canada. That includes 1,587 deaths. New Brunswick and Newfoundland and Labrador reported no new cases yesterday. Meanwhile, the federal government is moving to protect businesses battered by the COVID-19 pandemic from being gobbled up by outside interests. Ottawa is tightening the rules with regard to foreign investments and takeovers. The new measures announced over the weekend follow the lead of other countries in Europe and elsewhere. There will be additional scrutiny for a range of proposed investments and transactions until the economy recovers from the pandemic. Well, the cuts in the oil patch are continuing as companies adjust to lower oil prices in the wake of the pandemic. Cathedral Energy Services and McCoy Global Incorporated both announced job cuts, 25% reductions to executive pay, and lower capital spending plans. Oil prices have plunged due to the drop in demand because of the COVID-19 outbreak, even with an agreement by OPEC and other producers to cut output starting in May. Well, in the U.S., United States President Donald Trump says his administration and Congress are close to a deal on a small business aid package of up to $450 billion. The money would boost a small business loan program that has run out of money and adds funds for hospitals and COVID-19 testing. The White House says that it's hopeful that the program will be back up by midweek. Meanwhile, after initial reluctance, U.S. President Donald Trump says he'll use the Defense Production Act to increase manufacturing of swabs used to test for the coronavirus. Many governors have urged the White House to further evoke federal powers to increase private industry's production of medical supplies as health officials work to slow the spread of the virus. Now, a few countries are starting to ease restrictions and allow some businesses to reopen, but health experts warn that the steps must be gradual to avoid a second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. India eased the world's largest lockdown to allow some manufacturing and agricultural activity to resume, only if employers can meet social distancing and hygiene standards. Germany is allowing some small stores to reopen, but New Zealand has extended its lockdown for another week. Well, in the middle of easing its lockdown, India has recorded its biggest single-day spike in the number of coronavirus cases. The health ministry reported 1,553 new cases, bringing the national total to more than 17,000. At least 543 people have died. India has been under the world's largest lockdown for almost a month, halting all but essential services. The slight easing of the lockdown allows limited industry and farming to resume, where employers can meet social distancing and hygiene norms. Restrictions have also been eased for migrant workers to travel to factories, farms, and other work sites. Well, Japan's exports sank by 11.7% in March as the coronavirus pandemic slammed auto shipments to the United States. The finance ministry says exports to the U.S. fell by 16.5% in March from a year earlier, while those to China declined by 8.7%. The outlook is grim, with the International Monetary Fund forecasting that the world economy is heading into its worst slowdown since the 1930s Great Depression. Israeli researchers say the global coronavirus outbreak has sparked the rise of anti-Semitic expression, blaming Jews for the spread of the disease and the economic recession that it has caused. A Tel Aviv University researchers' annual report says attacks against Jews spiked by 18% in 2019 as part of a steady rise in recent years. 7 Jews were killed in 2019 in more than 450 violent incidents across the globe against synagogues, community centers, and other Jewish targets. There are concerns that the pandemic will increase incitement even further. The Australian government says Google and Facebook will be forced to pay for news content in Australia. The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission will release draft rules in July for the digital platforms to pay fair compensation for journalistic content that's taken from news media. Australia's decision comes as the coronavirus pandemic causes advertising revenue to collapse. Queen Elizabeth II's husband has made a rare public statement praising those who are tackling the new coronavirus pandemic. Prince Philip, who turns 99 in June, said he wanted to recognize the vital and urgent work of medical and science professionals. He also gave thanks to key workers, including people working in food production, garbage collection, and postal and delivery services. Prince Philip has been staying with the Queen at Windsor Castle with reduced staff for their safety. Well, that'll do it for today's news update. I'm Nima Rajan. Thank you for joining us today, and I'll see you next time.